Welcome back. We are now in our third session this afternoon, strengthening the foundation, uniting governance, risk, compliance, cybersecurity, and audit for operational resilience. This session is sponsored by Mine and Corporator and moderated by Adam Inamuli, Chief Risk, Compliance, and Security Officer of General Bank of Canada.
Strengthening the foundation, uniting governance, risk, compliance, cybersecurity, and audit for Operation Resilience as part of Risk Digital Conference. My name is Adam Inamli. I'm the Chief Risk Officer of the General Bank of Canada, and I'm joined today by Sirin Fatoum, currently the Finance and Compliance Manager at Anira, as well as Gal Wenger, CEO and co-founder of Mine. In today's business landscape, Operation Resilience is more than just a regulatory requirement. It's a critical component of any business strategy and success story. How fast you can get back in the game is now a mandatory answer to any business case. And as we approach the 2025 deadlines for full implementation of new regulations in the UK and EU, professionals are faced with both challenges to manage as well as opportunities to convert into value. Our discussion today goes beyond mere compliance. We'll explore how integrating governance, risk, cybersecurity, and audit functions, what I'll refer to as GRC Plus throughout the conversation, can create a sensible foundation for operation resilience. This holistic approach not only helps organizations meet compliance requirements, but also enhances their ability to quickly recover from disruptions, ultimately leading to improved customer trust, investor confidence, as well as a sustained competitive advantage. And as we navigate through this topic, we'll uncover strategies for turning operation resilience from a regulatory burden into a business opportunity. Our distinguished panel brings together diverse expertise from across the financial services industry. They will share their insights on aligning risk appetite with business objectives, leveraging cybersecurity measures for compliance and audit readiness, and fostering a culture of resilience that lives through all levels of the organization. To kick off our discussion, I'd like to turn to Gal. Your experience in innovative technologies provides a special perspective on this topic. Do you mind sharing with us a specific use case where integrating GRC plus functions significantly enhanced an organization's operation resilience, and what were the key takeaways?
Yeah, thank you for having me. No problem. A little bit about like very short sentences about my background. So I'm coming from 15 years of cybersecurity background, and a lot of what I do today at MineOS is enabling companies to automate a lot of their daily activities which are related to privacy regulations, which is we took a lot of things that I learned in the cybersecurity automation space, and we're trying to apply it into privacy. Now, to your point, a lot of the things that I learned in the 5 years that we are doing Mine is specifically to GRC and other activities across the company that not necessarily related to privacy regulation, but can be as well, is the ability to know what systems we have across the organization and what data we keep inside. So after working with more than 200 companies today, I discovered that the key to do GRC, like any activity within GRC, like any of the letters or even any use case within it, is to really understand as an organization what we're dealing with in terms of what systems we have. A system can be what kind of SaaS applications we're using across the company. So it can be CRMs like Salesforce or HubSpot or any kind of email marketing system, analytics tool, IT, apps, finance, whatever. So we need to know what we're dealing with. Or within our cloud. So whether it's a database, storage bucket, data lake, whatever. And then to run a data classification process, so to understand what types of data we keep inside, whether it's PII, PCI, PHI, or specific data types like email, social security numbers, etc. Now, once we that process traditionally is called data mapping or data mapping exercise, and that process is happening in all kinds of different teams across the organization. So not just the GRC, but also legal, IT, engineering, etc. And what I learned specifically for GRC is for GRC team to do their work on the most, let's say, accurate or efficient or quicker as possible, they need to know what they are dealing with, right? How can you think about risk? How can you run any kind of compliance assessments, even like ISO or SOC 2. How can you do it without knowing what you're dealing with? So I learned the hard way, and from working with a lot of customers, that once they have a good understanding, a full, like a live map or a complete understanding of what systems and data they have across the organization, they claim that they could do the work better. So I think data mapping is a key use case that I keep hearing, over and over and over again. Not again just from GRC people, but across different teams. And I think this is the most critical point to solve before you can really accomplish all kinds of different GRC activities. I don't know if you feel the same from your existing roles, but I'd love to hear if you have any thoughts about that.
For sure. One of the key aspects of data mapping is how particular the data is for each business unit. What might be important for a business unit may not have the same importance for other business units, and that's why it's definitely important to have constant monitoring of those data elements and alignment on a regular basis, ideally twice a year, because they can drift apart pretty quickly. So that's one of the main risks of data mapping, if you will.
Agree.
So, building on that example, Serene, how can organizations systematically align their GRC plus functions to create a unified approach for operation resilience? Are there any frameworks or best practices you could share with us that you have found in your experience particularly effective?
You're on mute.
Yeah,
Sorry. Okay. Actually, thank you, Adam. Actually, there are several key steps or considerations that an organization can take to maintain the GRC functions. An organization from my experience and my current employer and my current organization, we need to define a common framework, for example, or methodology that integrates all the departments and the operational functions together. Uh, we need an organization needs to work on an integrated structure, and this comes from a clear governance structure that oversee all the functions and operational resilience together. For sure, one another thing is the risk alignment. One of the most important from my experience is to have a unified policies and procedures across all the whole organization, especially for multinational organizations that have different offices in different countries. They need to have unified policies and procedures, not each country to have its own set policies and procedures, its own set tools, and so on. So this will lead to a mess at the end. Uh, for sure, the team needs to be trained. Awareness sessions should be given to the employees and how to apply these functions. Uh, Sorry. Also, Adam and I think what makes a monitoring and evaluation, while we keep monitor and evaluate to this helps in identifying the risks as or the mistakes or a problem as we encounter it, and to step in and solve it immediately. Now, this is what I think the framework for the GRC functions. Um, do
thanks,
you
Serene.
agree?
Yeah, I agree totally, and I would then have a follow-up question, to both you and Gal, if you may have came across this during your experiences, is you have two perspectives where you might encounter misalignment when it comes to organizations. You have the three lines of defense perspective, and then you have the granularity perspective. So, for example, I've seen organizations where there is one group that does the first and second line of defense work, right? Um, Sometimes it's the three of them when it's not regulated. And then you have other organizations where it's a question of granularity. So you have a business resilience function, you have a compliance function, you have a technology compliance function, and then each of these function in silos, they don't communicate, and then they create more and more work, and that piles up, and it adds to the regulatory burden on the business, which complains already enough. So do you mind sharing any examples of how you can overcome those types of situations?
Okay. I can give an example. When an organization I know, I was trying to help them. There was resistance, Adam, from the different departments to automate their systems. Okay, the monitoring, the meal department, they need their own system for monitoring and evaluation. The procurement needs a totally different system. The grants department, the finance, yani systems all over the place, and they don't talk to each other, and things were really mess. I had to intervene and to step in, uh, bring all the heads of department together, let them talk about their pains, and I I made them see that all their pains are because their systems are not talking to each other. They are not integrated. The reconciliation between the different departments was taking 2 to 3 days of work from the frontliners, trying to reconcile between the grants department, for example, and the finance department accounts. You know, when
Mm,
they all see and hear from their frontliners, their teams, they, yani, at the end, they all agree that the integrated system is a solution.
totally. And that's the key value proposition. Gal, you're on mute. Sorry.
Yeah, connect to that. I want to connect to that as well. What Shireen said is very crucial, and it's also tied to, the data mapping piece that I mentioned earlier. I think, in other words, what we are all talking about is creating a single source of data truth across the organization, right? Like one place that everyone can get to and see all the information, whether it's, what systems we are using across different teams, what data we have there, and all kind of other information or insights the different teams needs to use for their, business objectives. And what Serene is saying is that multiple teams are wasting the same time, right, in order to get to the same result. And this is something that we're seeing as well from a data mapping perspective, where each team is doing their data mapping exercise internally, get like waste the same time, right? Like each team wastes like at the same time, gets to different results, right? And then each team is operating by, all kinds of different insights, which some of them can be wrong, not complete, not accurate. So I'm really excited to hear what Serena shared, because we are trying to coin and an angle where companies need to strive to create that single source of data truth, which is one place that holds all the information, and all the teams across the company can connect to it, get what they need, and accomplish their own team responsibility. So This is also what I feel, what I hear from different companies as well.
Totally, Gal. Thank you. And as we delve deeper into integration, uh, the data challenge that you mentioned is perfectly valid, but there are other challenges like the financial challenge, the compliance challenge when it comes to integrating different functions or at least different perspectives. Can you share some examples of that you might have encountered?
Do you run specific use case, or what do you
Yeah, I
mean?
mean, yes, exactly. So to elaborate more, like as you shared, like there is a data challenge when it comes to integrating different functions, for sure, about the integrity, the validity, the multiple dimensions. But like there is also the financial challenge of integrating functions, as well as the compliance challenge when it comes to different regulatory constraints, let alone just the geographical integration.
Yeah, I can give more examples. I think that let's take a few examples from compliance, right? When you want to do SOC 2, right, or
Hmm.
ISO 27 and 1, or even, let's take a recent one, ISO 42001, right? EU AI Act was approved, right, March 14th or 13th, and there is a new ISO, not that new, but soon it's going to probably be mandatory, which is ISO 42001, right? The AI one. Now, the the AI Act, it talks about four different families of risks, right? That we need to, as an organization, we need to look at all the AI that either we are developing or external vendors that we are using that are using AI. We need to start categorizing all of these AI into four families of risks, right? From high risk to low risk. Now, what I am hearing is the same issue. Like companies, when they think about the AI Act or ISO 42001, from compliance perspective, how can you start thinking about AI if you don't know where data reside, right? Or even what AI do I use? And this is a question that, even if I ask like you both, do you know for sure like what AI your companies are using, whether it's anyone from your employees that are leveraging a SaaS application like ChatGPT or Grammarly, or a free version that is using, or even cloud assets that engineering are developing in order to inject AI to the product that you're selling. Now, I think the main issue from compliance related to 42001 is, before we can think about AI, we need to know what AI we have. So this is another issue of a question that we need to collaborate. Same as data mapping, we need to collaborate as an organization, find all the dots, and then we can do our job as compliance managers by either uh, be compliant with the EUA Act, or even do the certification, the ISO 42001. So this is another thing that we need the entire organization to collaborate, which is just recent example. Did you recently had the chance to deal with EUA Act or ISO 42001 in that sense?
We're still in exploratory mode, if you will. We don't have a footprint in the EU in my bank. My bank is based in Canada and mostly North America, so we don't really have that. However, we are in exploration mode because everything that happens in Europe and the US usually catches up with Canada, at least from a guideline perspective. So we want to be ready for that. Um, and your perspective is quite interesting. I would add to that the accountability challenge, right? The problem with integration is that you have multiple accountabilities that need to come into agreement, right? Or into one accountability, and that's where politics come into place, and where a lot of subjectivity enters into perspective. So our role as professionals is to minimize that subjectivity and work towards more coordination and more simplicity, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
So. Thank you, Gal, for the great examples. I have one last question for Sirin, then we can delve into some audience questions. When it comes to integration, there is always like a overarching theme there called culture, right? Uh, from a culture of resilience perspective at the organizational level, do you have any examples of how you can create that type of culture and how it can basically permeate all the levels of an organization?
Okay, thank you, Adam. Adam, in my opinion, leaders need to actively promote resilience as a core value to their organizations, as actions and communication between the team across all the team, frontliners and senior managers, or even the board. Allocation of resources. They need to set expectations, for example, and participate in the resilience activities. This needs to be done through regular meetings, per se, where resilience, for example, is the main agenda item or item on the agenda, to discuss, reinforce its importance. Another thing is to integrate it in the programs, training and awareness programs to the employees and the whole organization. For example, conducting training sessions, educating employees at all levels, يعني, and enhancing their roles in maintaining resilience and how to respond to any disruptions. Uh, what else? Promote learning and adaptive culture, to encourage their employees to learn from the resilience challenges, and to continuously improve the processes, procedures. Yani nothing, for example, like a standard process and procedure, this can be changed as they perform, or as they can operate. They need to update their processes and procedures based on the lessons learned when they apply it. Yani. Uh, last, all of this needs to be communicated really in a very transparent manner, through establishing communication challenge, where all employees are kept informed about the resilience strategies, ongoing initiatives and activities, the organization's potential disruptions. This is, in my opinion, some of the examples of how how can we permeate all levels of the organizations, board and frontliners.
Thank you, Sirin. Any additional insights on this, Gal, before we delve into the audience questions?
No, I think we can move to the audience questions.
Perfect. So I do have 3 audience questions. I will read the first one, and each of us can basically offer some insights there. The first one pertains to incident response, which is a really interesting topic when it comes to cyber. How does the integration of these disciplines strengthen an organization's incident response capabilities in the face of cyber threats or regulatory challenges?
I can start with the question. I think that I know a lot from that specific question from my previous experience in the cybersecurity space, and I think that I'll try to connect it to a few points that I mentioned. I think that if you really want to handle an incident, in the best way possible, it's funny. You need to know what you're dealing with, right? And one of the hardest things when you do an incident response, and you bring red teams or whatever in order to help you understand what's happening, is to quickly understand what is happening and what was impacted, right? But the only way to do it very quickly is to know what you're dealing with and where you're looking, right? Where, like, you need to connect the dots. And it's funny because it ties perfectly to what I said, at the beginning, both on the data mapping piece, but also on the AI. We need to know as an organization what is our tech stack, what we are dealing with, what systems we have, what data we keep inside, and more importantly, where are the risky data reside, right? Where are the let's call them the secrets or the top most sensitive data that we need to protect, right? And when we have an incident, we should, if we have, if we had a small angle or a lead, we should definitely start there, where we keep the most sensitive or most precious data. We need to start there, but we cannot do it if we don't know what we're dealing with. And I meet a lot of companies, in different sizes, not just, big or medium, that they go so fast and so much, that they don't know what they have, which is crazy. And another thing that leads to a lot of incidents, by the way, are M&As. So companies that are acquires other companies, and they have no idea what they are buying in terms of the infrastructure or the tech stack that the company that they acquired brought home, with them. And to share an example, Marriott, the largest breach in history that happened, I think, already 3 years ago, happened because they acquired Starwood, and the breach came from Starwood, which is like, they tried to, integrate the entire infrastructure there, and there, hackers found a way in. So I think it's all coming back to understanding very good and continuously and in real time what we are dealing with as an organization, and have one place that everyone can look, and then different teams can connect and take whatever they need from that place.
Agreed. And I would add to that one playbook, right? Instead of having multiple playbooks that have different levels of complexity, when you integrate, you aim towards one playbook that can help coordinate and have a fast response, looking at the same set of data, as you mentioned, Gal. Serene, any insights on this question?
Actually, يعني I totally agree with you, Gal, because يعني even you gave example of the Marriott, even in the NGO sector, because يعني yeah, all of my experience are in the NGO sector, we face the same thing. It's not about يعني Marriott were thinking of the of a from a profit perspective, but even we're at NGO when it comes to our donors, because to us our donors, they are our stakeholders, you know. If we have a weak structure and weak policies and procedures, this will lead in us losing our source of funding. We will lose our business.
Totally. Agreed. A good segue to the next question, which is how are organizations leveraging data analytics to gain insights into their operation resilience across these disciplines? And this speaks to the earlier questions that we had about data mapping. I think data analytics is the consumption of data mapping. So when you have good data mapping, you will have good data analytics, which will lead to good decisions, in my opinion. Do you agree, Gal?
Yeah, definitely. And I can add another flavor to that. In order to have operational resilience in a sense of GRC, other than data mapping, there are, I think it also refers to the ability to have logs, not just, systems and understanding what data inside, but logs on how data flows between different systems, logs on how people from within the organization are interacting with these systems. So to your previous question, if we have an incident that we need to deal with, it would help us to quickly, understand what we're dealing with. So it's not just that we need to know what systems and what data we have. If we don't have logs or, SIM or a SOC that we can connect to and, start to, from a security point of view, start to look at these things, it would also be very hard for us to do the work from a GRC perspective. So I think it's again, systems, data, and maybe logs and how data flows within all the systems across the organization. Obviously, it's hard. It's the bread and butter. It's the dream, right? To have that one source of data truth, but I think organization can take steps, small steps in order to get there. And again, I think data mapping is crucial that any organization has to do, whether it's automated, manual, whatever, but companies need to have that understanding. And then from that, you can move to level two, which is, again, logs and creating policies and all kind of different, let's call them real-time alerts or analytics on things that are changing. So for example, if someone is interacting with a new system, you want to get an alert, right? From a GRC perspective, you want to get an alert. You need to do all kinds of different things, right? Or if or if an existing system, let's think about the database, is now starting to collect new data types because an engineer did something or any other person across the company, you also want to get alerts in order to identify that in almost real time so you can react. So I think analytics and alerts are something that are very crucial to make sure that we, as an organization, we keep everything up to date continuously, and not creating efforts that are very static or in one point in time.
Absolutely. Great insights. Serene, any other insights you may bring for this question from a data analytics perspective?
Yeah, and data mapping and data management definitely allows us for prioritizing risk, to allocate our resources, and to mitigate risk. Actually, not only mitigation of risk, but mitigation of critical threats of the organization.
Agreed. And I would add
No?
on my end, from a regulatory standpoint, we started having a lot of demands from a data analytics perspective from regulators directly, where we turned into a data analytics machine, if you will, to respond to regulation requests. And automation is now an imperative, not just a nice to have. So for sure, there is a
Can
lot
you
of
give
pressure coming.
can you give a few examples? It's very interesting.
No, for sure. So recently we received a few regulatory requests about climate risk. And it does request a lot of data gathering, data analysis, data mining that we can't turn around in a matter of days, right? You need to do that manually for months before you can actually have the right quality. But more and more, the turnaround time that is requested is very low, right? It's very short, and that's where you need the right capabilities from a data analytics perspective. Same goes with credit. We have thousands and thousands of credit files. So when we are asked for a sample and for a specific segment in our sample, we need to know our data really well to be able to respond. And again, time is of the essence. So if you didn't do your homework and you didn't build your capabilities, you're going to be a lagger. And being a lagger with your regulator is never a good idea for sure.
Yeah, ESG. I hear that over and over again. ESG requires a lot of analytics or visibility, right? You need to be transparent and share a lot of the things that. But this also, this is a very amazing use case because, and you said the word manual, right? That you need to gather the data from all kinds of different places, and it takes. I think you mentioned 3 months to
It
prepare it.
takes months, yeah. It can take a lot of time. When you don't have like mapped data, right? You don't have actually a good knowledge of your data. Like it can be impossible in some cases actually.
This is exactly the point that in order to if you don't keep a live map of systems and data, it just makes everything manual and complicated, right? Because for each effort similar to this effort is G related and specifically what you said, you need to work very hard manually, extract the data, analyze it, prepare it, and share it with the auditor, right? And then next time you have like in a week you would have a new use case, right? A new whatever requirement, and you will need to do all the process again. So this is why I think that having that look of systems and data serving not just multiple teams but multiple use cases. So to do what you said, once you have the data, if you had it, I'm guessing it would be quicker, right, to do it
Mhm.
from scratch. So it's a good example. I like it.
Thank you. And one last question from the audience. I think it will build on everything we said so far. How can organizations strike a balance between fostering innovation and managing risks through their integrated approach to GRC plus functions? I like this one because it's basically gives you a choice, if you will, right? A false choice because you have to do both when it comes to doing the integration and looking at new ways to create value while still protecting the value that you already built.
Yeah, I'll take this. Adam, organizations need to outline the roles and responsibilities. They need to outline the decision-making process and the risk management within the organization and the different departments. This is in the first place to me because it will promote transparency, accountability. It will provide clear guidance and give guidelines to all on the very acceptable risk level for the innovation initiatives. The organization need to foster the collaboration among all departments involved in the governance, risk management, compliance, the cybersecurity, and audits. Need to integrate the functions and ensure the innovative initiatives are evaluated from the multiple perspective to align the overall risk tolerance to the organization. As I said before, the education and awareness among all employees, from the frontliners to senior management and to the board, is really needed and important. Uh, the risk management to adopt the risk management practices that allows this organization to iterate and adjust the risk strategies in response to any changing initiatives. Uh, and this is what I think organizations need in the first place to mitigate and to enforce the governance GRC rules.
Great. Thank you, Serene. Any insights, Gal, that would build on Serene's direction?
Yes, I want to give an example from so previously to mine. I worked as an investor for Verizon Ventures. I was part of their venture team, and I led the cybersecurity investments there. And I remember that back in 2017, there was I don't know if you remember from a cybersecurity perspective, there was a wave of solutions that were called honeypots, which
Yeah.
basically these were like honeypots that you would put across the organization, and essentially, if you have an attacker that is attacking the organization, they can fall and touch these honeypots, and that would be easier to identify that you have an intrusion, right? Uh, and that was like a big wave. There were like 12 startups worldwide that were doing the same. And I remember that I brought that one of the startups to the CISO of Verizon, right? Among other solutions, and she said to me that it's back then it's an amazing innovation, but she has more basic issues to deal with, and this is very like next gen advanced solution. And when she thinks about her organization, she needs to deal with very basic things first. Now it goes back again to my previous example of understanding the assets that we have across the organization. So even for a CISO, they need to first understand the assets that they need to protect, right? And only after they know what assets they need to protect, whether it's they bring your own device, whether it's a mobile or a laptop or all kind of different computers. Only once you do that, you can really think about innovation and things that are very very advanced. So to answer your question after that example, I think it's important to understand what the goals of the organization are, where are the gaps, and to prioritize what is needed to be solved first. So in other words, before you can really apply innovation to all kinds of different parts of the organization, which I'm all, favorable of innovation, but in many cases, to solve very basic issues, you don't need the most advanced solution. So I think it's a matter of understanding what we're trying to solve as an organization, and in some part we should feel more flexible and favorable about innovation because they can really take us to the next level. And in some things that we need to solve very basic use cases, we just need to solve it, right? Without any very sophisticated algorithms or very sophisticated innovation. And I can give a more relevant example to GRC, which is data mapping. Again, sorry for repeating that, but I think that, this is the key, really the key to unlock everything across the organization. So one place where innovation can really help is if you have a data mapping exercise prepared in the manual way, the spreadsheet and the questionnaires that you send across the organization, you do it once a year, it takes a lot of time, it's very static. I think if you have that already, if you did it at least once or twice a year, this is exactly the place where you can add innovation, which automates, how you can do it continuously and keep it up to date. But it's only after you did it once manually and you understand what you are dealing with. So this is a good example.
Exactly. It's avoiding the shiny object syndrome as well and doing innovation for the right reasons. You hear, as you said earlier in the discussion, of AI everywhere, but it has to be AI for the right reasons as well, which is a very relevant use case in recent days. So I don't have any more questions. So as we draw our discussion to a close, I would like to thank our esteemed panelists, Sirin and Gal, for the great insights and our audience for their time. Today, we've explored the critical importance of integrating GRC Plus functions to build a robust foundation for operational resilience. We've seen how this holistic approach, far from being just a regulatory requirement, offers significant opportunities for organizations to enhance their operational agility, build customer trust, and gain a competitive edge in an increasingly complex business environment. Key takeaways include the importance of viewing operation resilience as a strategic imperative. Data is the key, is the foundation, and it does from it stems the right accountability, responsibility, and governance structures. The crucial role of technology and innovation in enabling better integration, and finally, fostering a culture of resilience that permeates all levels of an organization. It has to be sustained rather than just sustainable. And organizations have to embrace this challenge and seize the opportunities as our business landscape is ever changing and it will just grow in rapidity. I encourage all of you to reflect on these insights shared today, to consider how you can apply them to strengthen your own organization's operation resilience. Thank you all for your participation, and I wish you success in your GRC journey.
Thank you so much for watching the session. It was quite interesting to have the conversation around how different tentacles of governance, risk, compliance, cybersecurity, audit, data protection can be combined or should be combined together in operational resilience. We will come back soon for the next session in a few minutes.